Daryl, welcome.
Hey guys, how are you?
Good.
Are you over the John Elway? I mean, are people over the John Elway thing yet? I mean, every time I ever go to Cleveland,
Daryl wasn't even born then.
I know that, but
no, I was, and I lived through it. I cried through it. And no, people are still not over John Elway. Every time at the combine, I talk to John Elway, and I mentioned it on Twitter. I just absolutely get clobbered by Browns fans for it.
And I'll tell you what, I asked John a couple of years ago. I was at the Super Bowl in New Orleans, and he was in Hawaii in a hammock. He didn't come to the Super Bowl that year. And I said, what is still, I said, everybody talks about the helicopter play in the Super Bowl. What is your biggest moment in your history? Winning the Super Bowl, the helicopter play, he said, the drive. So he doesn't get over it. He's using that. He buys dinner off of that.
That was his coming out party in a lot of respects.
I would like for the Cavaliers or the Browns or somebody, even the Indians, to go out and win something so you guys can get over it. And we didn't call you on here to talk about that play, but it is funny.
It's only been 51 years in Cleveland. You know, it's not like it's any type of a drought or whatnot, although I think LeBron is doing everything he can to maybe change that with the Cavaliers. At least they got back to the NBA Finals and looked like an NBA Finals team until half the team got hurt.
Daryl, here's a question you've never heard before. At some point this year, is Johnny Manziel going to start a football game for the Browns?
Yes, because the Browns cannot go a season without not needing at least two starting quarterbacks. They've only had one time since coming back in '99. It was Tim Couch in the 2001 season. He started all 16. Other than that, it has just been a carousel of quarterbacks for this football team. Josh McCown will be the 22nd different starter since 1999 for this football team. And I want to say he'll be the 13th or 14th different opening day starting quarterback for the Browns. So if history tells you anything, Johnny Manziel will probably have to start a game. I'm going to put the over-under at 6.5 weeks into the season.
Well, the problem is, forgive us, this Woody, but Josh really hasn't had a distinguished career. I mean, people kind of remember him when he was at the Bears and he
played pretty well.
Pardon me?
He played fairly well with the Bears.
Yeah, but
he just can't sustain.
When he starts, when he's a full-time starter, he's had a lousy career. That's the problem there is, okay, you're right. I think Johnny will have to start it as he did at some point last year. That are they ever going to get a, I mean, are they going to have to do it again and go out and draft another
I think so. I really do. Now, to be fair to Johnny, I've been impressed with him this year. You actually see some tangible progress on the field. A year ago, he looked like a lost puppy on the field. He had no idea what he was doing, but he also had himself to blame because even he's admitted he did not approach his rookie year with the same level of professionalism he should have, whereas this year you can tell when you watch him, he knows what he's doing. He's making progress, but he's not there yet. He still has to develop. And I go back to last year's draft, and it kills me to think about it. And obviously, revisionist history and hindsight is always 20/20, but that's what we do in Cleveland when it comes to the Browns and talking about guys they could have drafted. You know, the Browns could have had Teddy Bridgewater and your pick of Odell Beckham Jr. or Sammy Watkins. This offense would instantaneously, in my opinion, become prolific. Of course, then again, the Cleveland factor comes in, and you say that neither one of these guys would work out because, well,
they're going to throw the ball to
them.
Yeah, it's a chicken or egg. Are they bad because they come to Cleveland, or were they bad to begin with? Tell us some good news. I mean, you got a wide receiver who just can't stay away from the table, whatever table that might be.
Wait, who are you talking about?
Well, they have a wide receiver that's, that's got some issues. You know.
Josh. Yeah, but he's not with the team. Josh Gordon.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That he's not with the team because of. I'm saying it's Cleveland. You know, it's Cleveland. Tell us some good news. What is the good news this year?
Daryl wants to. After listening to you, Daryl now wants to leave Cleveland.
No, he doesn't.
I've been there for 18 years. It's a pretty good place. If you ever been there, a lot of people that actually come to the city don't have many bad things to say. You know what? Good news, couple of things. One, the offensive line, and this is where the Josh McCown factor comes into play. Woody, you made a good point. His resume is his resume. 17 wins in 12 years. It is what it is. The Browns know they're not going to win with Josh McCown trying to go Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. It's not going to happen. So what they've tried to do, he's got one of the better offensive lines, in my opinion, in front of him. They're going to try and replicate what they were able to do last year. They got him to 7-4 with Brian Hoyer, and that is ball control offense. That means short, quick passes. Don't sit back there and try and break down the defense on a 7-step drop. And the other thing, too, is run the football. The question there, though, is can these running backs, these young backs, Duke Johnson, the rookie from Miami, you've got Terrence West and Isaiah Crowell coming into year number 2, but neither one of them have had a great training camp and haven't stood out. Can they take that next step? So that's the good news offensively for the Browns, really where it ends. They also added Brian Hartline, who I think is going to be an integral part of this offense at receiver. But defensively, I also think that they've got a top 5 secondary in the NFL. They've got 4 Pro Bowlers now. There are 4 former Pro Bowlers. Joe Hayden, Tremont Williams are your starting corners, and the 2 safeties, Dante Whitner and Tashawn Gibson, are both Pro Bowlers as well. So I think that by adding a rookie like Danny Shelton to help with the run game, which we ask every year in Cleveland, will this be the year the Browns actually stop the run? They've got a very, very strong secondary. So you're looking for good news with the Browns. I think that's where it ends, though.
Daryl Ruiter covers the Browns for 92.3 The Fan in Cleveland, and all our live guests are brought to you by Papa John's. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. Daryl, you mentioned the secondary. It is a real good secondary. I think everybody knows that. Had trouble stopping the run, though, the last couple of years. You pick up the Browns pick up Danny Shelton. How's he looked so far? That's a big draft pick for you guys.
It's a huge pick, and he has, like, when I watch practice, and this has always been my problem with the Browns, I watch the first-round picks, and it's like, okay, you notice that they're there because you're looking for them. Like Danny Shelton, you notice him when you're not looking for him. The name I've heard most associated with him is Haloti Ngata, as far as the comparison goes. Alex Mack has had his hands full, the All-Pro center for the Browns, dealing with Danny in practice. Yesterday, we're up here in Pittsford, New York, with the Buffalo Bills, 2-day practice with them, and he was having his way with the Bills' offensive line yesterday as well. He's very, very strong, and you're right. As I said earlier, every year, it's one of the first questions we ask, aside of, can the Browns actually win more than 5 games? Is this the year they actually stop the run? Can they not finish in the bottom third in run defense? It's always been a problem. And Danny Shelton, you pair him up next to Phil Taylor, and that opens, in my opinion, infinite possibilities, especially for your linebacking group to be able to get after the quarterback without actually having to blitz.
So I give you an over-under of 7.
Really?
Well, I'm asking him, do you take the over or under?
I'm probably going to take the under. I would have set the over-under at 6.5. Then I might have taken the over, but I think that 7-9 is the most realistic expectation for this football team. I think that it's a better roster. It's a deeper roster. The problem is they play a much tougher schedule than they did a year ago, and they're not playing the NFC South, okay, where the division winner is under 500. They got to play the NFC West this year, and we know how tough that division is, even with San Francisco kind of going nuclear on us this offseason and the mushroom cloud that's left over that franchise. But their schedule's much more difficult. It's a deeper team, but the Browns, they simply are not there yet, and it comes down to they don't have the guy under center, and I don't think that the Browns are going to be able to take that next step until they finally solve their quarterback situation.
Yeah, I guess that's the one thing. By the way, I like Cleveland. My 2 uncles, I was sent off to Cleveland when I was a kid. I enjoyed being in Cleveland, and you go up to the Bay Village area and the amusement park up there, and what they've done with downtown. When I first was going,
the Flats, right?
Pardon me?
Well, the Flats are coming back, and also the main area in downtown Cleveland. There's a lot of building going on. Hey, the Republicans are coming to town next year, so we really got to make the city look nice for them. Yeah,
because you certainly don't want, with 18 guys and 14 women running for president, you're going to have just finding hotel rooms for all those people.
Well, they ought to build a Trump Tower there.
And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I loved it when you used to stay downtown, and then the baseball stadium was built down there, and you put the football. I think Cleveland it gets a lot of knocks, and what he just brought up, I think the toxic waste dump is now in San Francisco. It's not in Cleveland, it's in San Francisco. So people in Cleveland, the slogan should be, it could be worse, we could be the 49ers. Or it could be worse, we could be in Jacksonville.
Daryl, it sounds like, from listening to you, this team's just going to have to grind it out all year on both sides of the ball. Is that a fair way to put it?
I think that's the most succinct way you can put it, because offensively, I don't have expectations that they're going to be a high-powered, explosive offense, which we know in this era in the NFL you have to be to be successful. And they're going to rely on their defense, not only to get off the field, but help provide their offense with some great field position. There's a reason why the Browns traded for a 3-time Pro Bowl punter this year with the San Francisco 49ers and bringing in Andy Lee. They know field position is going to be very important for this team. But, yeah, that is a perfect way to put it. They're just going to have to grind it out.
What about the punter, punter, kicker, whatever the hell he is, that the Broncos just
Spencer
picked
Lanning,
up?
who played with Cleveland the last couple of years.
What'd you think of him?
Good guy. I think you guys are going to like him. Honestly, I was a little surprised that they made the move, because I thought Spencer had a pretty good couple of years with the Browns. The one thing that I really liked about him, and I'm kind of hokey and old-fashioned in this way, he's really good at pinning opponents inside the 20-yard line. He's not a coffin corner kicker, but if it's late in the game and you want to get your opponent pinned deep inside the 10-yard line, you need a punter to do it. Spencer Lanning's at the top of that list. He doesn't have a booming leg, and that was probably the most noticeable difference when I saw Andy Lee come in this offseason. I mean, Andy Lee was kicking he was kicking him so far in practice, the returners were complaining and telling him to take it easy because they kept having to run 10, 15 yards backwards to try and field his punts. But I think you guys are going to like Spencer up there in Denver, and obviously I think the distance on his punts is going to be helped with that rarefied air you have in the Mile High City.
9% further, Daryl. 9% further. Daryl, really appreciate your time. You got a Twitter handle?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, Ruiter Wrong Fan, but the Ruiter is spelled a little different. It's RUITERWRONG Fan.
So I've been pronouncing your name wrong this whole interview. Is that what you're telling me?
It's quite okay. You're not the first, you're not the last, and that's how I know the telemarketer.
I'm glad you corrected that, and we hope you'll join us again in spite of Les being a complete freak.
Moron. I'm a moron.
Be my pleasure, guys.
Okay.
Thanks, Daryl.